and welcome to the One More Thing podcast. Today I'm joined with Dr. Larry Baucom. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So this week, this was a topic that's very special to my heart. I think it's very important. This weekend was health, and it was the final weekend of Notifications On. Very rarely do you see a pastor that's not just concerned about the spirituality of their congregation, but their overall health. So what inspired you to talk about this subject?
Well, I think we live in a world of more healthfulness than I think we ever have. I think people are healthy minded, at least the people around me are. But also I'm very aware that the standard American diet, which is called SAD, S-A-D,
for a reason,
is really not very, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And obesity is up. We're worried about lots of things, or concerned about lots of things, maybe not worried, but as I age, I want to be sure that I age well. I want to be sure that I stay healthy, not just physically, but also mentally. But I think the spiritual component's part of that too. But too many people I see are eating what I think is more processed food than ever before, and it's because we've never had it as available. A few weeks ago, I traveled to Chicago, and I tried to find something healthy to eat and go through the shops, the Hudson News, or whatever shops are, or the restaurants. It's very difficult to find something that's not processed.
Yeah.
And I want something that's natural and healthy and whatever. And Becky and I are both trying this new style of eating more healthy. We've always eaten fairly healthy.
Right.
We've always exercised, but but to find that in the airport was just, it became painfully aware to me that on the plane they were going to give you a little package of something processed. Yeah. And the stores, they want to sell you packages of processed. And I bought them before, but I just did not buy them this time and thought I'd rather go hungry than eat the stuff I shouldn't eat.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely food culture is very prominent here, and for good reason. Like, people enjoy food. Food brings us into community. And so I think there's this overwhelming aspect of, there's a million different diets out there. And there's a million different experts saying different things and conflicting ideas. So it does become overwhelming. And so I've talked to a lot of people. People come to me and ask for like health advice and what do I do? And, and the biggest thing is like what works for me may not necessarily work for you.
Right.
And so finding the thing that works for you. But there are standards as far as, univocally, let's stick to good whole foods, vegetables, fruits, good meats, and the other stuff is, you're getting into the weeds. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree. I think that and this is one of the things I do, is the commonality, whether and for years I was a keto type. I'm a meat eater, and I'd eat less vegetables, and should eat vegetables, but less fruit, just less carby things.
Right.
But still on keto, it's no processed foods. Now I've switched to kind of a whole food,
heavy on the vegetables and fruits,
plant-based diet.
Yeah.
And I've not had beef now for weeks.
Oh my goodness,
and
that sounds terrible.
I know, but and it depends on who you want to listen to.
Right. Sure.
And we always gravitate to those who do what we like.
Well, and it's about finding what works for you.
Yeah, but again, I'd argue with that a little bit, only by saying that there are studies out there will show A, B, or C, and which are the largest, most dominant studies that are double-blind studies. And I have friends who are doctors. They said unless it's a double-blind study, it's no study at all. It's anecdotal. But I've lived one. Now I'm trying to live the other. And the thing is, it doesn't matter to me whether you do A and I do B. We both would say processed food is no good. We both say nutrition is important. We both say, hey, exercise is critical to our lives. And you check the numbers in your blood, and it validates some of the stuff. So it's not, I love to say that what's the best form of exercise? And the answer is the one you'll do.
Right.
And I think that's true with the diet. What's the best diet? It's the one you'll do. But there are some things, even though it's the one you'll do, it could be argued that some exercise will put you into cardio, and some will strengthen your muscles, and you should probably play around with all those.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's true. But diet is just part of it, and it was fun to talk about diet. And the problem really is, which is the best diet? Well, let's talk about the negative side, the obesity. The fact that, we are the most obese nation in the world. And that's something that I've seen in my lifetime. Why is that? And I think it's because we have manufactured and are producing more processed food than ever before. The enemy to me, or the enemy to the American culture, is not the keto diet or the plant-based diet. It's the processed stuff that has no nutritional value that I see kids eating, boxes of chips. And I just, and honestly, I bought them. So I'm not, I have to throw be careful those who live in glass houses.
Exactly.
You shouldn't throw stones because I've been in that camp, and it's not that I'm right. But I think as we learn, we try to live within the knowledge that we have.
Yeah. And you said an important thing this weekend, which I think is very true. It's about balance. It's not saying, I pay attention to very much what I eat.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I don't have bad, like what is considered bad or processed or sugary foods.
Right.
I have dessert, but I do it within balance. And so I think that's a big thing as far as like, yes, you can still enjoy the foods that you loved, just don't do it all the time. And
Agreed.
Caloric surplus is a big thing. You look at, they look at, I was listening to Dr. Peter Attia talk about this, and he was saying, I went to Italy, and he's like, Peter Attia is a very low carb kind of guy.
Right.
And he's like, I go to Italy and people there, they're eating pasta all the time.
Right.
And he's like, they're eating it multiple meals a day. And he's like, and most people are under, at a healthy weight. He's like, why is that? And he's looking at their portion sizes. So even just the simple fact of like being under caloric, being under calorie is a very important thing too, just as far as like not overeating. Because you go to Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. And the plates are this big. They're huge. Yeah. So that's another aspect of our
Cheesecake Factory. I've never heard of that.
Yes, you have. You stop. I've eaten multiple meals with you there.
Okay, fair enough. But I asked my 96-year-old mother, "What do you eat?"
Yeah,
and she's 96. She's very healthy. Her mind is still sharp.
Yep.
And what I heard was, I don't eat a lot.
Yep.
And I thought, caloric restriction. I eat a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of micronutrients. Does she eat meat on occasion? Does she eat things on occasion? But more often than not, I say, when I talk to her, what are you doing? I just put on a pot of beans. So one of the things about, she eats a diet heavy in beans, which are a very good protein base for her. And I'm just curious to see what are the similarities between that and living a long time. But back to the teaching, it's fun to talk about that for a minute. And I love the comment about the overweight preacher. It says, if your body's a temple of the Holy Spirit, then I must be a megachurch. That's just stupid funny. I couldn't believe the guy when he said that. It was hilarious. But it's very confessional. I realize I'm too big. But what do we do about it? And I think that's the right question. The other thing I think is, and the point of the sermon is, does it matter to God? Does it matter to God how much He loves you based on your weight or your exercise? And the answer is no, that God loves us whether we're in shape or out of shape. But I think it's His love that transforms us. And sometimes when we're healthy on the inside, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, I think physically we become more healthy too.
100%.
And which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. That maybe people who are more balanced on the outside or more balanced on the inside, or whether it just goes together.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I do think that it's important for us to have an alert to say, if I'm eating so much that I'm in agony, then there should be an alert.
Yeah.
And if I'm exercising so much that people look at me and they think I'm anorexic, should be an alert that goes off. And if I am physically in good shape, but I'm nasty to people, should be an alert that goes off.
100%.
Or if I'm paranoid or anxious or I'm suffering serious depression, the alert should go off to say, my body and my mind are important to God, and they're important to us in the church to make a difference in the world. So how do we find that balance? And I think, you're an outstanding example of, physical specimen. I mean, I tell people, Ricardo looks like a Greek god. But that's because you pay a lot of attention to it. I know you go to the gym a lot. I know you don't eat until in the evening time. And because you do all these other positive things, you splurge. I'm sure a purist would say you shouldn't splurge that much, but a purist would also be amazed at the discipline of exercise and the discipline of not eating until 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So you're in the right to do that.
Yeah.
And it works for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important.
Yeah, no, and I always tell people I never do anything for very long, just because, I don't want to become indoctrinated in a certain type of diet, because I've done everything. I've done a lot of different types of diet in my journey. But as new research comes out, new studies come out, and you're like, oh, okay, well, kale's a big one for me. I used to eat kale every single day until I started hearing more and more negative side effects of kale. So I'm like, you know what? I don't enjoy it. I don't like eating kale. I'm gonna eat spinach instead. And these different other leafy greens that give me the same benefits without having to choke down kale, because I really didn't enjoy it. No. But it's one of those things like, yeah, sometimes you eat food that you don't necessarily enjoy, but you understand that it's good for you. But again, when it comes back to the community and the people and just overall health, you tell that great story of you and Johnny Walker sitting down, and he was like, he was having a drink,
right?
And then you saw him put salt on his steak.
That's right.
Tell me that story.
Well, we were at some convention. I was supposed to pray, and I was supposed to sit at table A, and that table got full, so I volunteered to sit in table B, which met Johnny Walker. And they served these humongous steaks at this place, and he was having a mixed drink, some kind of martini or something. And but I noticed before he ever took a bite of this plate-sized steak, he just salted it tremendously. And then he cut the steak and took the first bite, but he salted it before he even tasted it. And as he was drinking his mixed drink, he said, well, Pastor, I hope it doesn't offend you that I'm having this mixed drink, this alcoholic beverages. I said, no, what offends me more is that you'd salt your steak before you even taste it. That's not healthy. I mean, all that salt.
Right.
And the joke was, he said, I want to go to a church where my pastor is more concerned about my salt than he is my alcohol.
Yeah. And
they've been coming here for many, many years now, and it's a privilege for him to be my friend. Right. But I think it is concern for people's health.
Yeah.
And we can tease it, but when it gets personal, what I don't like is if someone is very thin and they're standing beside a friend who's obese, and the thin person is talking about how they couldn't eat this or they don't eat this, and I think I wish that people who are thin would be courteous to those who are not, and quit talking about your diet among those people maybe that need to be on a diet, and just choose your audience very carefully, because you don't know what you're doing to hurt that person by saying that, because they have enough guilt.
You don't want to shame people.
Agreed.
Yeah, and that's in all aspects of life, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I think encouraging people, and you had to toe that line very, very carefully, because this is a tender topic for a lot of people. It's a very personal topic.
Yeah, if someone's overweight, they don't want to come here and say, I got beat up for being overweight today.
Right.
That's not it.
You still maintain the hospital, not a courtroom, and in just encouraging our community, like, I want you to be a part of our community for a long time. And the way we do that is by being healthy and taking care of yourself. And that was a great sermon. And, we need these reminders every once in a while.
But it is hard in our society to eat out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I mean, I know you cook a lot at home. So you have the ability to no matter what you fix, it's fresher.
Well, and I control the ingredients.
Exactly.
I know exactly what's in it.
And that's a great benefit.
Yeah.
And other people that go out and they eat something, you don't know. You may be ordering something that you think is completely healthy, but you don't know what they're putting in it behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Which I think is always a concern for those of us who are health conscious. But at the end of the day, we're a community. The notification should go off when we don't rest well, when we don't eat well, when we don't exercise well. And, there's a balance in life, and there should be a balanced approach. So, but that's last week's series. Now we get to jump into Thanksgiving. Shift altogether, different. So find something else to talk about.
Yeah. No, we're excited. Thanksgiving is right around the corner.
Oh,
I can't
Christmas.
believe it. And Christmas, yeah. So it's a busy time of year, but we're thankful that we get to be a part of this community and do the things that we get to do and get to do what we love. So
Agreed.
So thank you for being on One More Thing,
My
Pastor.
pleasure. Thank you.